Again, thank you for being here. Especially appreciate our city staff. And my wife, Nina, of 35 years, is here. Nina, wave your hand. Didn't tell her I was going to do that. She hears me speak every day, and she still came. So that's a tribute. I want to say one thing. I really been managing people and trying to lead something for over 30 years, or probably over 40 years. And I wanted to say I believe in servant leadership. And I'm not an elected official, thank goodness. I just have to create a trustworthy relationship with your 5 elected officials, your city council, and they do an outstanding job. And I count it a privilege to serve each of you. You are truly what makes this community what it is. Now, if I can work the technology, it's going to work. Okay, the theme for today's discussion presentation is, what does that look like? You know, a lot of times we see things in life, and life goes so quickly now, it's hard to stop and pause and rest and actually take in all that's happening. So what does that look like? I want to start with a couple of easy questions just to get us warmed up. What does that look like? Stop sign. Just speak out the answers. It does look like stop. What color is the stop sign? Red. You're going to have to get a little more involved in this. I know you all know this one. And what is that? And what does that mean? Okay, so we're good. So let me ask you this. What does that look like? Yield sign. And what color is it? Okay. Yellow, huh? Like that? Everyone agree? Yield sign's yellow? Boy, it really speaks to the age of the room. If you said yellow, you may be showing your age. Yellow was out, and red and white was in the mid-'80s. So that was about 30 years ago. So I wasn't going to tell this, but I think I need to now. My wife's great uncle, Russell Pearson, was somewhat of a celebrity in the Oklahoma City area. He did a farm and ranch show for over 30 years, I believe. And I went to his 100th birthday party we did just a few years ago. Mr. Pearson, I said, as we visited, he said, you know, I've learned there's 3 stages of life. He said, he's 100 years old. He said, there's 3 stages of life. He said, there's youth, and then there's middle age, and then there's you're looking good. So a lot of y'all in this group are looking pretty good, I'm afraid. But the point is, sometimes we see, but we really don't always know what something looks like. This is something you've seen for a couple of years now. I've spent the last 2 years talking a little bit about real people, real character, real community. That sounds very nice, but what does that mean? What does that look like? So I want to spend a few minutes today talking about what that looks like and what that can and does look like in our community, and then we'll switch gears and head to everything good that's happening in Owasso. And I've got no bad news for you here today. At the city of Owasso, we face some challenges on a regular basis, but there is no bad news. So real people, real character, real community. What does that look like? And the goal here is to give you a view or a vision for what that looks like for at the city, what we're trying to lead. We're one of the largest employers in the city of Owasso, but when I say we, I mean the city as an organization and our city team members, our city councilors. I would like to ask inconvenience city staff that's here and our city councilors or past city councilors. If you're a former city councilor and staff, please stand right now. We've got Will Williams here today. I don't see any other former councilors, but these are the people who are leading in the development of a great community with the quality of life that we all desire. So to recap, I presented these in the last couple of years kind of in a law and principles stand from a perspective of laws and principles. The law of equality, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Probably the most powerful and impactful words in our nation's history. We talked about individuality and how important it is. I love the Judy Garland quote, always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of someone else. Just be you, different is good. And then finally, real people means respect. So real people is foundational to great community, real people who respect others. But real people, what does that look like? So if we're created equal, but each are different and unique, and look around the room, we're all different. There's young and old, male and female. There's people that have different worldviews and see things from different perspectives. We're all very different. There's Democrats and Republicans, that's already been pointed out. Some like Hillary, some like Trump, some maybe like Gary Johnson, or none of the above, which could be a possibility. Some like the Cowboys, some like the Sooners, some like the Hurricane. We see things differently, and sometimes our opinions are very strong. It wouldn't surprise you to know that I've seen people disagree not only in opinion, but actually get angry over just these things that I just mentioned, over political candidates, over the Sooners and the Cowboys. I haven't seen any fights over the Hurricane, so that's a good thing for Tulsa. But if I could speak from my heart, I've had differences of opinion with many of the most well-respected people in this room. And that's okay. Regardless, I hope they know that, and I think they do know, I'm for them. I'm for each of you. If they're successful, I'm successful. When we have a difference of opinion with someone, it's an opportunity to learn. If you are successful, we're all successful. So I think that respect point is foundational. So real people, what does that look like? It looks like respect. On your tables, you've got several brochures. Over the past year, at the city, we've put into a brochure what we think embodies our mission, our vision, and our values. And this is not always easy to do, but I would recommend that each of you in your organizations try to do this if you haven't done so. But the more important thing is not to have one, but to make it relevant, and to intentionally make it relevant to your people on a regular basis, whether you're with the county or with Verizon or PSO, and I know all of you have these, but I'd say be intentional about making it relevant. Take those with you, use any portion of it. Hopefully, and it's our daily goal, but hopefully we set the example or set an example for real people, for individuality and respect. There's no one at the city that we won't sit down with and hear their diverse points of view. The alternative is just no good. It's easy to fight back with our detractors. In a room like this, you're all pretty successful people. We're pretty competitive. So when someone across the table or somebody across the room we think maybe said something about us or our business that's not in a good light, it's pretty easy for us to bow up and say, well, I'll figure out a way to get them. And that's natural. That's natural. But we've got to get past that. We've got to be about building bridges and not building walls. So open that, those of you that have it, open that mission, vision, values is what we call it. If you open it all the way up in the middle of the right panel, it's probably the most important thing that we hold on to in our culture at the city of Owasso. And right in the middle of the page under empowerment in the far right panel, it says, we are committed to an environment where people know their work and ideas are valued equally. There's really nothing more important when it comes to real people, when it comes to living in community that we can do than value other people's work and ideas equally. So that's a little bit of what we think about real people. Moving on to real character. The law of relationships. Everyone in this room knows this, but relationships are not optional. They can make or break your life. Principles, communication. I still love Joseph Priestley, the 18th century theologian, astronomer, scientist, chemist. Joseph Priestley said in the 18th century, the more elaborate our means of communication, the less we communicate. Actually, I think it's the 19th century, early 19th century. The more elaborate our means of communication, the less we communicate. Something to think about. Reconciliation. If people are together, if you're in relationships, they're going to break apart. It's inevitable. You're going to see things differently and you're going to break apart. So there's a need for reconciliation. Relationships will make or break you. Let me say this. If you favor money, power, position, accomplishments, this is especially for you younger people in the room. If you favor money, power, position, accomplishments, whatever success looks like to you, if you favor those things over relationships, you will at some point shipwreck your life. You will fail, you will lose. I'm reading a book right now. Has anyone seen the book Fall to Grace? Dave Bliss. Dave Bliss was the Oklahoma basketball coach who went to New Mexico, who went to Baylor, and went through some tough things down there at Baylor, but it's an excellent book. So real character is central to community. Real character, what does that look like? Well, for one, it looks like Frank Keating coming here just over a year ago and absolutely being blown away, visibly shaken when he found out that a prominent member of our community had donated a kidney to an acquaintance. He was visibly moved when he found out that Mr. Eddie Gibbs had given $50 million to Rejoice, the largest single private gift for a private school in the history of our country. And that campus is now open, so that's something to rejoice about, pun intended. Character, let me say this before I tell a story about character. Our character program in the city and in the community is not about saying the people in Owasso have great character. Some of you have heard this before, but it is saying that it's a standard that we're going to hold up and strive for. The program is a commitment to emphasize and model, or at least strive to model and recognize good character. So I wanted to recognize a young woman today by telling her family's story about emphasizing character. Amy Leander is a Miss Owasso candidate. She is a Miss Oklahoma contestant, and I'm just going to read from her words in a recent email when I asked her to tell a little bit more about her story. She says, our family attended Owasso First Assembly for several years when I was in late elementary school to junior high school. And we drove past the character banners coming on and off the highway. We had an almost weekly family meeting on Sunday nights. My dad bought the Character First curriculum and would read through the stories and discussion questions out loud, and we'd focus on a character trait as a family. We probably started doing that when I was in 4th or 5th grade, and it lasted until I started high school. So we can pause right there, and you probably say, that's a neat story. That's a good story. Not many of us were well, probably a lot of us were, a lot of you were good parents. Well, I hope I was a good parent too. But good enough parents to do something like that, emphasize character or Bible stories or whatever the case may be. But there's more to that story. Amy's 23 years old now. She graduated from college. And every Thursday night, for the past 2 years, she drives to Tulsa County Juvenile Detention Facility and teaches character to troubled teenage girls. It's pretty amazing. Her words again. The group I lead is for teenage girls, typically between the ages of 15 and 17. Usually there's between 10 and 15. My goal is to talk about character qualities that are particularly relevant. Respect, self-control, determination, etc. And then show them how that applies practically to overcoming drug addiction, choosing the right friends, being respectful to judges and foster parents, and so on. I write the lesson plan each week and try to adapt it to the needs of the group because character curriculum for juvenile detention doesn't exist yet. For a lot of these girls, it's the first time they've ever heard about these character qualities. And it's been amazing to me to see just how life-changing they are. My dad has always described it as taking water to the desert, and I would say that's a pretty accurate analogy. She goes on a little further. Surprisingly, most of the girls are very open and receptive and want to know how to make better choices in their lives, which I don't think I was expecting when I started. For the most part, they want to do the right thing, they just have no idea how. Most have extremely broken homes, are victims of abuse, have been abandoned, or have relatives spending life in prison. Not exactly the best examples of positive character development. The girls see that end result and they don't want it in their own lives, but they deal with so many issues, they just don't know how to change. That's where character comes in. And finally, she says, the juvenile detention has been a great experience for me, and it shows me how effective character education is, how adaptable it can be to anyone's life. I'm so deeply convinced that if it will make such an impact on teenage delinquents, it will work for anyone. And she closed her email by saying this: I imagine no one thought about what a ripple effect those banners staked by the highway would have. It's funny how small decisions can have such a lasting influence on other people's lives. And now you know the rest of the story. Okay, not showing your age there. That was... I was Paul Harvey. It wasn't a very good impression. I believe this is just the beginning of what we'll see as the benefits in Owasso of emphasizing, modeling, recognizing character. And now I'm going to interject shamelessly an announcement. Save the date. Our 2016 annual character luncheon is going to be right here in this room. And our guest speaker will be Steve Largent. So please mark November 10th on your calendar. Moving on to real community. What does that look like? Well, communities from the Latin word communis, meaning sharing together or having in common, the law of unity and diversity. You know, I said we're different, but we're together. Principles of collaboration and service. Now, here's a quote for you. We played this game last year. Who said that? Who said this? We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Anybody know? We're only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided. Okay. Well, that's J.K. Rowling wrote it. It's in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Dumbledore, the brilliant philosopher Dumbledore said that. So, you know, you find that in fiction. When something is such an impactful truth, it shows up everywhere. And we're only as strong as we are united. It's true. In real community, people serve together. They work together in partnership on a shared responsibility. I still love the service quote. I'll show it later. But Martin Luther King Jr. said, not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. You know, when Todd Lamb was here at this event earlier, I missed it, but I'm told that he spoke of Owasso as the community that he wanted every community in Oklahoma to be. So real community is the ultimate goal. But what does that look like? What it looks like is a community that lets government do its work. People who support, who engage, who get involved and participate and vote. It's letting business play its part, the leaders in this room doing their part. It's letting education play its key role, parents getting involved. It's letting charitable organizations thrive by each of us giving and serving in those organizations. And it's letting the church be the church to minister to people both spiritually and physically. Quick story, our churches, our leadership, our pastors are doing some amazing work. The Urban Soul Youth Group is nominated for an award at the Keep Oklahoma Beautiful Awards. That's a group of kids at First Assembly that have put in literally hundreds of hours working for our Strong Neighborhoods initiative. On Tuesday this next week, a group of pastors has put together a prayer and appreciation cookout for our police department, our first responders. In October, Central Baptist is hosting 2 nights and providing the nursery and food for a Surviving Your Career presentation for all of our first responders. Each of you know it's a tough time to be a police officer, a tough time to be in emergency services right now. And then our Anglican church does things on a regular basis for our fire department. Father Waters is our fire chaplain. But I'm going to play a video right now with apologies to those of you who have seen it. It's worth watching again, and not many have seen it on the big screen. And I don't think we have sound. embedded in the PowerPoint. Okay. I'll let you watch the images. I was really good, I could narrate along with this. Okay, there's some great images, but we're getting ready to hear from Dee Sokolowski and from Tim Ridge and from others, and unfortunately we're not going to hear from them. So I'm going to encourage you to go onto your computer and Google character video and watch that on YouTube. I was hopeful that you could enjoy it on the big screen, but we're going to go ahead and move on here. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what the growth in Owasso looks like, what it means for a thriving and flourishing community. I told a group of people earlier that Owasso has gained a reputation for being the envy of all the other communities across the state. Some of you already knew that. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, but other city managers around Oklahoma, other city employees around Oklahoma, traditionally we talk about Edmond and Broken Arrow and Norman and Stillwater, but Owasso really is the envy of the state in many ways, and we have a lot to be thankful and grateful for. But what does that look like? It looks like recognition from others. These consumer advocacy groups are getting better and better, and they have some great criteria, but one of them has recently named us number 2 in best places to live in Oklahoma. Another has labeled us the second fastest growing city in Oklahoma. And about this time last year, we were listed as the best suburb in Oklahoma to raise a family. So that's a little of what others say, but it also looks like many projects, more than ever in Owasso's history. 4 or 5 years ago, our CIP committee got together and put together a complete list of projects that numbered over 100 and a value of over $300 million. And everyone liked the projects, but we did not have the funding to really even make a dent in those projects. But in the last 2 years, Owasso citizens have approved 2 new sources of funding, and we were also given a third. First source of funding that's been here is we reviewed 1983, the third penny for capital improvement projects was voted by Owasso voters. Then in January of 2015, Owasso citizens voted for a public safety half-penny sales tax. At the same time, the council terminated the monthly $3 public safety capital fee. That public safety half-penny is divided somewhat equally between our police department and fire department at 35% apiece of the half-penny, and then our streets get 30% of that. Another source of funding that was approved just April of this year is a Vision 55-100's recapture, also known as the 55-100 sales tax, but that was approved by voters in April of 2016. And we'll look in a moment at the projects that source of revenue is funding. And then finally, excess Vision funds. Last year, we were informed of the about $6.8 million that were excess from the 2004 to the end of 2016, 0.6 of a penny that was collected in sales tax. And you notice this is in Owasso where we have a heavy, it's pretty heavy on sales tax. That's not such a bad thing because Owasso collects sales tax to the rate of about 2/3 of its sales tax from visitors. So we're a little less regressive in Owasso, maybe you could say, but no property tax has been used for city public infrastructure since it was approved in 1973. So for over 40 years, Owasso has not utilized property tax for public infrastructure. Those of you that may remember what was voted on in 1973, it was a whopping $535,000 bond, ad valorem tax bond, and it paid for the original City Hall, which is now Fire Station number 2, a community recreation center, which is now the back building at the Y, and a swimming pool that was filled in the mid-90s. So what do we get from these sources of funding? What does that look like? It looks like a lot of projects. As I mentioned, more than ever in the history of our city, and if those cones keep shaking, you might want to look the other way. But let me emphasize one thing here, and that's patience. There's 25, 30, 35 projects that are either in the planning stages right now, or just completed, or in the early construction stage. At the city, we're saving a lot of taxpayer dollars by designing and overseeing and actually doing several of these projects in-house. So let me just roll through them. Contrary to popular opinion, we are still doing this project. It's that highway 169 project is making us look really bad by starting and finishing while we were still just getting started on this. Some of you know the story. This is a project that's funded 80% by federal transportation, surface transportation funds, and as a result of that, we do an inordinate amount of environmental studies and extra hoops to jump through because the burying beetles and the long-eared bats, nobody wants to see those disappear, even though probably nobody in the room has seen one. But it's just a necessary process that we have to go through, and if there's any environmentalists in the room, you could probably give me all the reasons why this is very important, because it would mess up our ecosystem. But that project is still going. Currently, it's in the right-of-way acquisition stage. So it's not far away now from utilities being relocated, and that's the widening of 76 from Highway 169 out to 129th East Avenue. And then in the same spot is the Garnett widening project from 96 to 106th. And that's at about the same place. But you might note there that 106th to 116th widening of Garnett is also to be funded 100% by our CIP dollars. And because of that, that one may be done before the other two. I don't think so, but it's going faster. Some other projects, intersection improvement projects that are on the CIP priority list. There's two. One's not quite on the list yet, but 116th and 129th, we're partnering with Tulsa County. Thank you, Commissioner Smallgo. And 106th and 129th, they're just south of Rejoice School, also looking to partner with Tulsa County and in the application process for additional funding on that project. Our annual street rehabilitation projects. This map shows projects done between 2007 and 2016. I won't spend a lot of time here, but in 1996, a local engineering firm said we really need to spend about $1.6 million a year, every year, just to keep up with street rehab. And we're moving our average up. We've spent about $1.8 million this past year and this upcoming year. And we averaged about $487,000 per year from 1996, but we're moving that quickly to almost $2 million a year every year. In July of this year, our OCI, and Roger could tell me, but I don't even know what that stands for, but that's your road index. It measures how good your roads are. Our OCI in Owasso is 79.6. Municipalities across the nation have a goal of 71, so we're still doing pretty well. We've got 79.6. Some people would call that almost a B. But across the nation, people are shooting for 71. So a lot of street rehab going on. Many of you are familiar with the fact that we just moved into our new City Hall, which was the original First Bank of Owasso building. This has been great all the way around. It's been in the works for several years. We just found out that this City Hall project has been nominated for a Keep Oklahoma Beautiful Award for repurposing. It's the government program's Green Place Award, and we'll find out at the 2016 Keep Oklahoma Beautiful Environmental Excellence Awards on November 17th. The police station, the old City Hall, is now in the planning phase to renovate that so that the police department can move totally into that building. Numerous and various stormwater projects, the ones circled there at Brookfield Crossing, Central Park and Lake Ridge, the Elm Creek tributary that goes by Rayola Park, the South Sports Park detention pond, Garrett Creek Morrill Place sewer system. So millions and millions and millions of dollars of stormwater and sewer projects in planning are ongoing. Let's switch over to the Halfpenny, a little progress report. We've hired 6 new officers, and that's all 6 of the new ones standing right there saying thank you, Owasso, and we've purchased 15 vehicles. Thanks, Chief, for getting those 6 together. And as far as the fire side of it, we've purchased land for a fire station number 4 that was committed as a part of this Halfpenny, and the council is considering in the upcoming meetings an administrative wing or a headquarters wing and the possibility of a public safety training facility. Those will be considered at upcoming meetings of the council. On the street side, as I mentioned, the street rehab program, we were able to the last 2 years to put an additional $800,000 toward our street rehab program, and also put in $1 million from our CIP fund. We've also, I think we're in the process of purchasing a bucket truck, and we have added 2 additional street workers. Moving on to the big, the 5500 Vision recapture that I mentioned. 2 extremely large projects that actually make up about 10 different projects separately, but 116th Street North widening from 169 all the way to Mingo Road, so past the sports park to the west out to Mingo Road. And then in the heart of our retail district, Smith Farm area, Willis Farm, Sam's, the renovation of the asphalt road to concrete of 129th East Avenue back west to 119th East Avenue, which is just in front of JCPenney. Those projects were already starting to get in the planning stages, and we basically started those projects even though the dedicated sales tax won't start coming in until January. But we wanted to get started on those. Those are exciting projects. Some things on the excess vision funds already complete. 19th and Garnett, the Academy intersection, the Rayola Park splash pad expansion, already done. Hope you've had an opportunity to take kids or grandkids or been up there just to see how active that's been. Also from excess vision funds, 76th and Main intersection in the engineering stages right now, planning. That's a little bit what it will look like. We've got a major investment in the lower left-hand corner is the edge of the new City Hall, the original First Bank building. Just to the east, there's a significant private family investment, and then across the street, upwards on the page is going up Main Street. Also several different projects out of the sports park, shade structures, lighting for for some of the ball fields, entrance roads on each end, renovations and parking lot additions and renovations. Also on the south end of the sports park, this is just a concept drawing, but it may not be too far off, a feature splash park, which is in the planning stages. Also at McCarty Park, a dog park. I like to call these people parks because all dog owners just like to get their dogs together and talk about them with other dog owners. But it's a great place where community occurs, and real community occurs at the dog park. So we're looking forward to getting that at McCarty. That's just west of the railroad tracks on 86th Street, just south of 86th Street North, if you've never been to McCarty. And then we're getting lighting for our state-of-the-art, maybe the best skate park in Oklahoma. The kids and amateurs and professionals alike all say that this is one of the best skate parks that they've been to. We're getting lighting for that so the kids and adults can enjoy that at night. And then 2 different major trail projects and some additional renovations at Elm Creek Park, which will also be funded with some CIP funds. And then finally, what I think is the feature project, a festival park. You can, if you look there, just to the bottom of the let's say the top of the page is the now existing police station, the old city hall, to give you an idea of how that lays out. That's just an early conceptual drawing. That'll be exciting to add on to the activity and the investment that's going on down in that part of town, the gathering and everything that's really joining together to bring a new offering for community to take place in Owasso. And then finally, what's new? These are all things that have happened since we last met. Some of these you knew about, but they're now actually built and open. Prominent there is a second Brahms. I've not had a question more prominent than when's that Brahms going to be built. And so finally it's done. Got a second Starbucks. Things are looking up in Owasso. So all good there. And then coming soon, some really exciting projects. The Maoris are in the room here. Tremendous project in the Red Bud District. That is an actual rendering, architecture rendering of what it could look like in the lower corner with some upstairs. It's called mixed-use space. Upstairs, rental place to live, and downstairs dining and retail. The garage there in the upper left-hand corner, that actually will go into the last spot at Willis Farms in the Sam's complex. That is a concept that the House Smith Group, the owners of the Charleston and Mahogany's concepts are. The Home Suites by Hilton 2 and the IQ Car Wash is right across the street to the west from the new First Bank building. And then the Brownies, some of you have been around Tulsa. Brownies have been around Tulsa, a tradition since the 50s. And it will be replacing the Dusty's concept just to the north of 76th Street on the West Highway 169 service road. So some exciting things happening there and more in the works. And I want to close, or get close to closing here with, in the back of that brochure on the back side, it kind of talks about what we think real community is at the city. This is what we are striving to move toward. And if you'll just read it with me, it says, we envision a community diverse in its unity, a community that embraces leadership from all sectors, from the business and faith communities, from education, healthcare, and government, from the chamber and from charitable organizations. We envision a community united in diverse goals and dreams. We envision a quality of living valued equally by young and old, by all faiths and cultures and beliefs, all blending, living, working, thriving together in one unified culture that is identifiably Oklahoma, that is uniquely Owasso. And our pledge to you at the city is we will continue to strive to do the right thing and treat everyone consistently. I would encourage you to take those brochures with you. Use them if you can, but if nothing else, take them home, read them, hold us accountable. If there's something about our management philosophy or our work philosophy or our visioning there that we're not doing, use that to hold us accountable. You can't hold us any more accountable than people already do because of the character program, so I'm not worried about that. Finally, a couple of quotes. When Lieutenant Governor Lamb was here, he did say this: I hope the state of Oklahoma catches up to Owasso, which is a nice thing for him to say. And then just a few words to close. Again, Martin Luther King Jr., not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. I wish you could have seen the character video, and so I hope you'll go on and hear the words that are spoken about Owasso, the character program, and the real community that exists. I want to tell you that it's pretty exciting. When we see Owasso 5 years from now with all these projects, it's going to look completely different. And 50 years from now, I believe Owasso will be a beacon for what real community can be. And your character will be your true legacy in this. Your collaboration and service in real community will be your satisfaction. It's the people in this room and a few others that will determine the future of this community. And this is really a beautiful thing. Your grandchildren are going to look back and appreciate all you did, all the people in this room, what you did to grow Owasso. Kind of reminds you of that, a favorite saying, you know, those who drink the water should never forget those who dug the well. And you know, the beauty of this is those grandchildren, they're going to connect the unconditional respect that you have and have for other people. They're going to connect your character and what you did, the service you provided to this community, and they'll see that character and that service to the community, that giving of yourself, and they'll believe and understand that they are where they are because of your investment and your service to this community. And they will understand the true value of character. And the really wonderful thing is they'll want to be like you. Your grandkids are going to want to be like you. And they're going to be. And they're going to do what you're doing right now. And Owasso will be great for them too. With that, I'll close and move to see if you have any questions. How are we doing on time here? Are there any questions? Somebody want to ask about State Question 779 or the railroad tracks or anything like that? A legislative
This
people
is your
think.
opportunity. If you have something burning for our city manager, now's the time to ask. It's a great time. You just have to kind of yell out. Anything?
Okay.
I think you've covered every subject.
Thank you very much for your